Welcome to Scotland's Hidden Histories, digging beneath the myth. Today, uncovering the brutal 17th century witch trials of Peeblesshire.
On December 24th, 1629, the Scottish market town of Peebles was preparing for the Nativity. But while the town readied its churches, 3 of its neighbors were marched to a hillside to burn. Susanna Elphinstone, Margaret Johnenstone, and John Graham were tied to stakes, strangled, and consumed by fire in the winter snow. We often imagine witch trials as the result of frantic, torch-wielding mobs, but the deaths in Peebles reveal a different, deeply bureaucratic reality. These 3 individuals had already faced a jury and received a verdict of not proven, meaning the evidence was too weak for a conviction. Unhappy with that result, the local religious authorities simply kept them locked up and starved them until they could force a calculated retrial to guarantee a guilty verdict. This chart shows the witchcraft execution rate across the continent. While witch hunting was a pan-European phenomenon, Scotland executed people at a rate roughly 5 times higher than the European average. Between 1563 and 1736, an estimated 2,500 people were killed. Which raises a difficult question. How does a legally organized, seemingly civilized society build a self-sustaining machinery of death, specifically to prosecute a crime that did not actually exist? The records left behind in the county of Peeblesshire offer a remarkably clear answer. They expose these trials as the systematic weaponization of a state's legal apparatus. The legal foundation began with the Scottish Witchcraft Act of 1563. This framework was hardened by King James VI, who published the treatise Daemonology. His obsession with demonic pacts gave local authorities royal cover to treat neighborhood gossip as high treason against God. This top-down legal structure collided with massive environmental hardship. During the 17th century, a period of global cooling, known as the Little Ice Age, brought heavy rains, failed harvests, and starvation to the borders. With the law treating magic as a tangible reality, everyday disasters like a dying cow could be officially prosecuted as deliberate demonic acts. The system had strict requirements for its victims. Historical ledgers show the accused were overwhelmingly middle-aged or elderly women, often widows or the landless poor. In a patriarchal legal system, these women lacked male advocacy and were entirely dependent on the community's dwindling charity to survive. The witch trials thrived on weaponized friction. If a poor widow asked for alms and was turned away, any muttered insult could be logged by the Kirk Sessions as a supernatural curse. If that neighbor's child later fell ill, the legal system reclassified a private grievance as a supernatural attack. The law acted as a pressure valve. It allowed a starving, stressed community to rationalize their bad luck by purging their most vulnerable members. By the 1640s, the mechanism had evolved. What started as desperate community scapegoating had become a specialized, highly professionalized industry. Enter the witch pricker. Men like George Cathy operated across Peeblesshire, using a pseudo-scientific method to secure convictions. They claimed they could find the devil's mark by puncturing the skin of the accused with a bodkin, a large needle, while simultaneously subjecting them to days of sleep deprivation. When a delirious, exhausted prisoner finally stopped reacting to the needle, it was logged as definitive proof of guilt. This ledger shows itemized receipts for an execution. Burning a body to ash required massive fuel, costing 4 pounds for peat and 1 for coal. But the highest cost wasn't materials. The executioner charged a 10-pound fee. Men built lucrative careers off the stake. While local governments tallied these exorbitant costs, the accused were held in places like the Peebles toll booth. Prisoners were shoved into basement rooms and attics, often for months at a time, enduring psychological torment and physical humiliation while awaiting their expensive trials. To manage the costs and continue the work, the industry relied on implicatory evidence. Under the pressure of torture, the accused were told they could delay their own execution if they naming other witches in the area. The witchcraft trials functioned as a self-sustaining industry. The system required a constant influx of fresh victims to pay its specialized contractors and balance the local budgets. The breaking point for Peeblesshire arrived in 1649 with a woman named Janet Coutts. After being arrested and pricked by George Cathy, she triggered the structural collapse of the entire regional system. This clearly illustrates Coutts' desperate survival strategy. Kept alive by Cathy as a star witness, she was taken on a borders tour. Under the guise of implicatory evidence, Coutts officially accused 88 separate individuals, but the sheer volume of her accusations broke the unspoken rules of the hunt. She began naming people of high social standing, individuals with wealth and legal protection. The Kirk was suddenly faced with a logistical nightmare. They simply lacked the infrastructure to process 88 high-profile capital trials simultaneously. The logic of the hunt faltered when the star witness became too prolific. Sensing the contradictions, ministers in the nearby presbytery of Biggar changed tactics. They stopped the torture and shifted to pastoral care, sitting with Coutts to pray and read the Bible. Removed from the physical torment, Coutts immediately broke down and confessed that the witch pricker had forced her to lie to save her own life. The fallout was immediate. 48 people were cleared instantly. The pricker's credibility was destroyed. By 1662, recognizing the severe flaws in local justice, the central government issued orders stripping local authorities of their power, effectively breaking the cycle. For centuries, the names of those killed were largely erased from the landscape, but in 2022, a granite memorial was placed on Tweed Green in Peebles. Engraved with the specific names of the 1629 victims, it explicitly reclassifies them not as monsters, but as ordinary citizens. The legal machinery of the stake stalled when the system became too bloated and corrupt to survive its own internal contradictions. The violence ended not through a scientific revolution, but because the business of the hunt had finally collapsed under its own weight.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to keep unearthing Scotland's hidden histories